Hey everyone, it's Bob Crossen. I am the Vice President of Content Strategy for Waterworld. I am joined today by Jacqueline Mutter, One Water Planning Lead for HDR, and also Trent Stober. He's the Utility Management Services Director at HDR, and we're going to be talking about their AIR process and the One Water approach that they're taking at HDR. So, Jacqueline and Trent, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, we've heard this one water approach thing for a number of years now. It seems like it's gained a lot of traction, especially on the engineering side of things. Why is that approach like so critical for the water sector? Do you believe? And why do we think it? Why is it so important to like adopt or align with this model of thinking?
Yeah, I'll take that one, Bob. Here at HER, like you said, One Water approach has been in the sector for quite some time now, and within HDR, we're actually operationalizing it with our teams as well to make sure that we're looking for more holistic benefits for our clients. And Jacqueline and I have been leading through that effort. And I think it's so important for the water sector right now because we have just a number of challenges in front of us for water utilities. And that spans, drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, reuse utilities. The way I think about the challenges are both internal and external. Internal being everything from our aging infrastructure to how we manage our workforces, both to retain them, recruit them, and to make them, take pride in what they do for their communities. External challenges include, some of the regulatory issues, whether that's current or future, community growth, also the community needs that we have, and we're facing all of those with substantial climate risks as well. So I try to take a glass half full perspective, and when I see challenges like this, I see that there's opportunities to improve the ways we do business and the processes that we use. This gives us really the opportunity to look for more value-based decisions rather than the traditional siloed least cost perspectives that the water sector's had for quite some time. And I think One Water really provides us that pathway to explore the interconnectivity of our utilities, our ecosystems, our water supplies, both our community needs and also innovative partnerships with industry, agriculture, and various stakeholders. So I think really this partnership piece is vastly critical, not only between partner utilities, but then also these broader stakeholders.
Hmm.
When we think about One Water, let's think about the definition. So we're doing a lot of work with the Water Research Foundation. And the current definition that Mazdak Arabi and his team developed is that One Water is a collaborative planning and implementation approach that fosters integrated and equitable management of our water resources for long-term resilience and reliability, meeting both community and ecosystem needs. So that's a pretty big picture, holistic concept right there, right? So
It's a
right
big mission.
yeah, that's pretty ambitious. So right now, Jacqueline and I are working with the Research Foundation to, try to take this concept and make it tactical for utilities to, align our plans and programs around multi-benefit solutions.
Mhm.
And those are two different Water Research Foundation projects, 5175 and 5196, if you're keeping notes. And the AIR process that Jacqueline will talk about really provides this way to operationalize One Water. And that comes down to AIR is assess, identify, and reimagine our plans, our programs, even our projects that we deliver for our communities.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why don't we get into that a little bit more? Jacqueline, can you talk a little bit more about this AIR process that you guys are implementing with HDR and how you're approaching on water? Like how do those individual elements, that assessment, identification, and the reimagining, like how do those all come together?
Definitely. So if you're looking to kind of discover and expand multiple benefits and apply this kind of one water perspective and approach, so we're saying you can use this air process to operationalize one water and actually embed it in everything that you do, whether it's a plan, project, or program. And you can apply it to this any plan, project, or program at any phase of the project, essentially. So in the planning and design, earlier on is obviously helpful and better. But also if you're looking at rehabilitation or recovery. So how do you kind of look at these holistic benefits if and different ways of approaching our typical infrastructure? So that's really the idea here, is to take, you have traditional project or program drivers, like there's a need, there's a clear need, and then there's a clear desired outcome. And what we're looking to do with the air process is saying, well, but there's also an opportunity to expand your project or program benefits. And this is an approach to help you think about that multi-benefit approach, expand your tradition, just expand beyond, that traditional goal or outcome. And we do that through the 3 steps. So AIR, assess, identify, reimagine. Assess is where you're really looking at understanding the placement of this project, program, or plan within the watershed in the community, to uncover these holistic solutions. So usually we just look at the project site. We don't think about where does it sit within the watershed, where does it sit within the community, what are the benefits or impacts this project may have on the community, and then how do we mitigate, enhance the benefits and then mitigate some of those impacts. Similarly, within the watershed, can we work with other partners? And gets into the identify. So leverage partnerships, opportunities to create multi-benefit solutions. So if you're looking at, for example, in Southern California, in water reuse is inherently complex, and you require typically multiple utilities working together to create these multi-beneficial regional solutions. And in this case, for water supply management and additional local water supply source. And then finally, we're really looking into reimagining these solutions. So incorporating these solutions using measurable actions to realize water quantity and water quality goals, which are very traditional. We always look at how do you improve water quality. We're looking at water quantity. Is there too much water? Is there too little water? Where do we need water? But then also adding in these layers of equity and resilience. So we're always thinking about, climate risk and some of these challenges and uncertainties, workforce development. How do you think about the entire picture of your utility in a lens at a project scale, at a planning scale, at a program scale? And how do you move some of these initiatives and efforts forward? And that's kind of what we're saying, is you can do that with each opportunity if you kind of take this air process or air approach and apply it.
Yeah, it seems like, at each step of the way, like by the time that you get to reimagining, you have a lot of groundwork laid to allow for the reimagination, really, right? It's like you've already
Yes.
set up the spaces to talk about using making it beneficial for other uses and all of that. By the time that you get to reimagine, it's like, all right, cool. Now, how does this fully come together, all as one big piece and whatnot? It's very cool. I like the process, like that stepped process of it. But what are some of the benefits of approaching things in this way? You mentioned like the potable, like the reuse stuff. Like that's an obvious no brainer to me. Of like that's the easiest connection between those things. What are some other ways that you guys see this being beneficial from a one water perspective for utilities and both water and wastewater?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bob, because if we can't demonstrate the benefits, then we're not going to be able to develop the support to move these higher value projects and investments forward. From my perspective, utilities have just been out of sight, out of mind for far too long. And One Water, I think, gives us the opportunity to shift the message so that we can demonstrate the benefits that our utilities provide to their communities, the environment, the broader stakeholders, so that we can really build the support for the revenues that we need to deliver our programs. And utilities are foundational in our communities, both to serve our existing customers, but then also be able to support community development and growth and enhance our levels of service for residents and businesses. So I really see that this is a great way to demonstrate the value that our utilities provide to their communities. And that's what we term as the value of water.
Hmm.
It also gives us an opportunity to explore, um, uh, you know, strategies to leverage investments with other partners, like Jacqueline mentioned. When we get into reuse in particular, there's like a number of partners that need to come together
Hmm.
to make those investments. But also there's opportunities to, work with industry, let's say, to, make the investments that we need to make to drive our workforces in our communities. And ultimately, I think it's a process that we can use to make smarter investments. And we need to recognize that our revenue, just like our water, are finite resources. So this is our opportunity to make sure we make the most wise investment that we can for our communities and our environment.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned like the enhancements, and that was one of the other, well, kind of the follow up that I had. Like, how does this kind of enhance the things that those utilities already do? They're already doing, providing drinking water. They're already providing these wastewater services. How does this get enhanced through a one water lens?
So I think one of the things is yes, we're all doing these things. And I think that's a big piece of One Water is that it is an approach, and a lot of utilities are already implementing a lot of these things, but it's just kind of elevating the importance of um, our stakeholders and our community and
Mm,
how we communicate a lot of the benefits that we're already providing at the start of any kind of plan, project, or program, and then using tools like benefits registers that will help keep track of those benefits so we can share those internally in our organizations and our utilities, but also outwardly with the community. And that also gives us some accountability with the community as well, to say, hey, we're doing the projects that you guys are supporting and interested in, and these are also all the benefits to you, and we're tracking those benefits so you then can experience that, those solutions, and kind of really conveying how by operationalizing One Water, you can improve the sustainability, the efficiency, and resiliency of our neighborhoods, our communities that we live and work in, and create and help, create more sustainable, resilient infrastructure, and help sustain our present quality of life and kind of support the future. So this big picture vision of what our water infrastructure does, by really supporting the economy and all the benefits that go with that. But there are challenges when you think about involving the wider business community, whether that's industry or agriculture, as Trent mentioned before. Like, we all use and need water, so we are inherently have a common goal, to think more holistically about how we use that water for the highest, best use is super important. But we know these regional multi-benefit efforts are also challenging with multiple partners and stakeholders. But you don't really realize that even though it might be challenging and harder to think about, and more work up front, is ultimately you can potentially provide best value solutions.
yeah. I like that you brought up the industrial side of things because for example, to give a good example of this is the siting of data centers is impressing a lot of need on drinking water utilities and on wastewater utilities because they need to provide for the communities that will work in those places, but also to the facilities themselves. And it does add this additional level of stress. So, this one water approach is a means by which to address that while also building it within the community itself. It's a very fascinating issue that we're seeing, I think, in
Yeah.
the United States with kind of these industrial sites being located in places that are looking to find ways to make more water or have more resilient supply to foster the growth that they're seeing.
Yeah, Bob, I throw this example. We've recently gone through a, um, a planning effort around wastewater for a regional utility. And part of the business case that we made behind that was building in capacity for an additional industrial user. So we can, from an economic standpoint, consider the direct, indirect, and induced effects in the economy that would be supported just, because this wastewater capacity gets freed up for that industry. And it gives us an opportunity to share with the community how many jobs, how that trickles through the economy. Also, we looked at the uplift in land value around regional wastewater service and what kind of benefit that is to the landowner as part of that. So it really helped us make a strong decision on how do we make a higher value decision versus the least cost decision. And I think there's great examples of how we can operationalize that to get the funding that we need. But I was also just, if we've got just another minute,
Yeah.
was just with one of our clients out in the Rockies, out in the Front Range, and they looked at a process to operationalize OneWater within their operations group. So they developed a program where their collection systems and distribution system staff will spend like a week over in the water treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant, to understand what those
Mm.
operators do, and vice versa. So now you start to create resiliency in your
Mhm.
teams because folks get some cross training, but you also within the workforce, they start to understand the challenges that their coworkers have in their operation. And
Mhm.
also going externally to the community, I'd say there's opportunities for all of our staff to talk to their friends and family about what they do. And now those operators understand if there's the treatment plant operator understands if a main break happens in the middle of the night, what challenge do those operators have to go out and wake up, get up in the middle of the night and go fix a break that again, many times that service is out of sight, out of mind until it's not. And then we
Mhm.
have a bigger issue. But being able to explain that to the public, I think is really important for our utilities.
Yeah, man, just that was the other thing I was thinking about when Jacqueline was talking in her with that last question too was just the importance of the communications. Like that's become a much bigger thing for utilities in general over the past couple of years, and this having this type of framework and working through it in this way gives you the touch points to talk about the moments in time along the way to like give them a journey to follow, right? To give the public a better understanding of like what's happening along the way. So it's not just like, here's a 12-page report with all
Right.
the information. Like, have at it. Hope you understand it. It's more of a like a drip feed in a way
Yeah.
of kind of
And
explaining things.
I, I'm proud of our utilities and what movement we've made in seeing the value of strategic communications. So
Hmm.
I was at a leadership conference with NACWA, actually, sitting at a table, and everybody's kind of down on, hey, we're not getting our message out there. And I asked this group of utilities, which are leading utilities, I was like, how many of you had a communications department, I don't know, 10 years ago?
Hmm.
Nobody raised their hand. And I said, well, you got to think about the progress that you've made. Like,
Hmm.
we were out of sight, out of mind again. And now you go look at Metro Water Recovery, you look at NERSD,
Hmm.
Northeast Ohio Regional Sanitation District, and you look at the social media stuff that's going out there, it's great work.
Oh yeah.
And that's a great opportunity to convey that message out to the broader community. So I think we should pat ourselves on the back a little bit about we're
I
not done
agree.
getting the message out there, but we've started getting the message out there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, I appreciate you guys both taking the time with me today and chatting about this. Is there anything else you wanted to share before I let you go?
No, just no, for me, Jacqueline, I just appreciate the opportunity, Bob,
Hmm. Of course.
to talk about this on your platform. This is what I think I speak for Jacqueline too. This is what gets us up out of bed and going to
Hmm.
work. It's to help our utilities deliver their their programs. And ultimately, from my perspective, my fulfillment is that um, our utilities are an avenue to really help real people. So each one of those utilities are serving real people in their communities. And that's what I think for the water sector, that's what our mission is to help real people with these essential services.
Yeah.
So appreciate
And
it.
I totally agree, Trent. And it's great to share the AIR process with you and
Yeah.
kind of our approach to operationalizing One Water and making it more tactical and tangible for utilities, consultancies, and really looking at, like Trent said, how we can benefit our communities, the communities across the US, internationally, whoever is interested in kind of picking up this One Water approach and framework. And yeah, it's great to share it with you. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. For everyone who's watching, you can check out our video description below. We'll have some links down there. I know that Trent mentioned some of those Water Research Foundation projects, so we'll have some links to those down there for you as well. But once again, to both Jacqueline and Trent, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thanks a bunch, Bob.
Thanks very much, Bob.